Hi, I'm Dr. Jon Dabach, and on today's short talk, I'm going to discuss what to do when your husband or your wife's friends suck. They just suck. You hate them. It's ruining your life and your relationship, or at least part of it. It happens more often than you think. And I find that where it happens the most is if somebody grew up in the city where you two met, but you kind of are an implant. So let's say you grew up in Kansas and then you moved to New York or LA or San Francisco to kind of either for the weather or for a job opportunity. And you meet your husband who's lived there his whole life and he has the same knucklehead friends from high school. Some live at home, some kind of became somebody. I mean, it's just a mess, right? And so that happens quite a bit. And sometimes it's not from childhood. It's just people they met at the bar in their 20s that they're having a hard time letting go of. Sometimes there's opposite sex kind of weirdness going on where he's developed a bunch of female friends from when he was single and going to bars and you're not comfortable with it. So what do you do? How do you handle a situation like this? This happens a lot. So I have a philosophy that there are really 8 different departments in a relationship, a healthy relationship. And social is the first one I usually list off. If your social life is not good, if you don't have a social life with your partner, you are screwed. You cannot, in today's day and age, really, unless you're an amazing, amazing couple, you really cannot have a life without a social structure to it. We are long, long, long gone are the days where a husband and a wife can just have this business transactional relationship. He has his friends, she has hers, and the two never meet, and they don't go out as a couple, and they don't have double dates. So social plays a big part of it. And if your friends, assuming you have friends your spouse doesn't approve of, usually means you're also spending a lot of time with them. And that means time they can't spend with you or time they're coming over to your house and it gets annoying. This can present a plethora of problems. So what do you do? So the first thing to do is to actually communicate that you don't like the friends, but how you do it, both in the language you use and in the tone that you use, are crucial. So instead of saying something like, your friends are the worst and they're ruining our marriage, do not say that. That is horrible, right? You don't want to start with the sharp criticism. You want to say something like, I feel uncomfortable around your friends because, and then you want to insert an actual thing that they do that makes you uncomfortable. So if, let's say, your husband's friends make a lot of sexual jokes, you could say, I feel uncomfortable around your friends. I'm not as comfortable with the sexual humor. I don't know what to do. Can we talk about it? If you come out and say your friends are gross and horrible and you need to they're going to get defensive. They will side with their friends. Chances are they've known their friends longer than you. And it's going to be difficult for them to break that relationship off just because suddenly you have a problem with their character that your spouse has kind of, or your partner has kind of admired or enjoyed for the entire friendship. So talk about it in a way where it directly affects you. Okay, that's the first step. Now, this happens, it's not just sexualized behavior. It could be that your wife's friends take advantage of your generosity. Maybe you always go to dinner and you always pay and nobody offers to pay. That happens sometimes. Could be drug use. I've had that many, many, many times where somebody's friends are a negative influence and they're doing illicit drugs and activities that the other one's really uncomfortable with. And more so, the partner only does it around these friends. In that case, you really do have to bring it up, but have an open dialogue. It's important that you do it politely and you have to say, like, look, this is how it's affecting me. I feel like I can't be myself. I feel uncomfortable. I feel like I'm at risk with the law. Yeah, hey, you realize I have a license to practice law or to practice, medicine, and what they're doing is not okay with, my profession. That could be a possibility. Whatever it is that's making you uncomfortable, you have to talk about it. Sometimes it's extreme, like it could put you in jail. Sometimes it's like, look, I just don't like it. And it's really making, and you know that about me. Like, why do you expect me to be so radically different just around a few other people? That seems a little strange. So have the conversation. The second is to set boundaries. This is the bread and butter of all relationship work. It's having communication and setting boundaries. So maybe you don't want your husband or your wife's friends coming over unannounced, or maybe you'd prefer they don't crash romantic date nights. Whatever the boundaries are, make sure they're reasonable and they're communicated and agreed to by both of you. If you have a boundary in your head that has not been communicated, then it's your fault. You need to say things like, look, I don't want them over without you giving me ample time. What's ample time? Not 20 minutes. I would like a few days. And so now the friends just can't come over whenever they want, and you'll have veto rights or you'll be able to discuss it. That's all pretty crucial. You need to set those boundaries effectively, politely, and at a time where it's not so imminent that it needs to be discussed right away, right? Don't say, hey, my friends are coming over in 20 minutes. Then you say, I wanted to talk to you about setting a boundary. That you should have told me about that 3 days ago. That doesn't work, right? You're going to have to take that one on the chin for that time. Maybe go shopping or go to the bar or go meet your other friends and just take yourself out of the situation, or just grit and bear it. And then when the friends have left, you need to discuss it. And the third thing is to find common ground, right? So try and find some common interests, some activities that you can enjoy with the person's friends. Sometimes you just haven't given it enough of a chance. Now, sometimes you have, and this is completely inapplicable. And if that's you, I'm sorry. But sometimes you just haven't really given it a fair shot. So maybe you've gone to sporting games with this group of friends, but you guys have never done dinner. Or maybe it's always a double date at an expensive restaurant and you don't like the wife or the husband of the couple. And you're like, you know what? Let's just go to the park and do something super casual. Try changing the atmosphere, the activity, and see what the person is like or what the group of friends are like in a different environment. Sometimes it makes a big difference. The fourth thing you should think about is limiting exposure. If you really don't like these people that much, just limit how much you hang out with them. Say, listen, I don't mind hanging out with these people with you once in a while, but I'm going to not come like once every other time, and talk about why. If that's really a deal breaker, you need to get that on the table now, because that's not going to change if it's a deal breaker. If someone is glued to their friend group and their friends are also married, I should point that out, then if they're not willing to say, oh, you don't have to come, that's a big problem. Now, if their friend group is a bunch of single people and you guys are the first one married, or if they're divorced and you guys are married, it's a little bit different, right? Because what happens is, as people marry off, lifestyle changes dramatically. You don't hang out with the same people. If the wives don't get along or the husbands don't get along, typically that friend group will dissolve. But if you're married, if your husband or wife's friends are all married and they all hang out and you don't like the group, that is a bigger issue. And you need to talk about setting limitations, and it could be a deal breaker for some. So really get it out there. And you want to get to deal breakers as quickly as possible, because if their life's too short, it's just too short to not be happy with somebody that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. And the last thing is to encourage new friendships. Most men have a hard time making new friends, and a lot of women do too, especially post-COVID and in this new digital world where people don't hang out in public as much. They haven't really honed in those social skills like they used to. It's difficult for people to make new friends, but you have to encourage it. You have to start looking at things. Activities are great, cooking classes, different things you can learn, concerts, different things where people are forced to be in person, off their phones. Those are sometimes it's as simple as going to the parent-teacher conference night and talking to the other parents there, as opposed to just talking to each other. Hey, what's your kid doing? I mean, I can't tell you how often people make friends in the carpool line or at their and their kids get together and they end up being friends. That's more common than not. So embrace new friendships as well. It's not always easy when someone has friends you don't like, but there are ways to cope with it. There are techniques you can use, and I encourage you to explore all of them. I hope this was helpful. My name is Dr. Jon Dabach again. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.